I know people who spend half their lives as lawyers joining political parties and putting up posters for the sole purpose of becoming judges. I would say that the judiciary in general in Ireland, almost as a prerequisite for appointment, is an attitude of servility to the state and to the powers that run the state. And therefore an indifference, a necessary indifference to the little man, the little woman, the person who is just the mere citizen coming from the court, in the door to face the court or ask the court for help or whatever. So that's been a huge problem, that almost by definition you ought not to be dealing with that when you deal with judges. A judge is supposed to be somebody who is able to rise above all interests, all prejudices. He's trained, or she is trained, or supposed to be trained in that, so as to adjudicate in a neutral way to an extent. Now that's not entirely possible, but it's a name that is admirable and necessary. What we have had in recent times in judges, and not just in Ireland but worldwide, is a different thing, whereby people are appointed to the positions for ideological reasons, or tribal reasons, political tribal reasons. And so what justice, so called, comes down to then in any given issue is numbers. How many people have we on our side as opposed to the other side? Or is the man on the bench, is he one of us or one of them? And that's not the way that justice should work. I mean, in the family law system, again and again and again, I came across this syndrome that ultimately there was no law. That was what lawyers would tell you. There's no law here. It's a game, and we have to learn how to play it. And the point then was that know thy judge became the first principle. Who is the judge today? How does he or she think? How does he or she behave in response to X or Y? This is not the way that the justice is supposed to be dispensed. People are supposed to be elevated above all this. So of course the political idea, political patronage. I know people who spend half their lives as lawyers joining political parties and putting up posters for the sole purpose of becoming judges. This is a shocking situation. And it is getting worse. And the fundamental bottom line of the whole thing is that we can't expect to see justice at all. And we don't. I mean, if we look recently at some cases that happened in relation to the referendums. I mean, I was involved in one or two going back to the McChrystal case back in 2012, which we actually won. And in a certain sense, this destroys my argument, because it was such a bizarre thing to win, but the case was a very strong one and we made it very well. And Mark McChrystal is a very, very thorough and determined man. And I was involved as a witness, and I put in papers and so on, and we won. And as a result, we almost won the referendum. Not quite, not near enough. But if you look at then what's happened since then with the various challenges, and with a particular case just before the abortion, so-called abortion referendum, the referendum on the 8th Amendment last year, a couple of months before, there was a verdict of the Supreme Court in a case to do with an immigration case, in which the judge in the High Court, Mr. Justice Humphreys, had come up with a thoroughly brilliant judgment, in my view. Probably one of the best judgments that has ever been handed down in Irish court, because he dealt with not just with the immigration issue, but with the issue of family and with the issues of the right to life of the unborn child. And he set out a panoply of rights that he had identified within Irish law and in the Constitution, which accrued to the child. And this was appealed to the Supreme Court by the government, by the state. And the Supreme Court's judgment was one of the most shocking statements that has ever been, because it basically said that the child had no right, whatever. And I went through this in the most specious and really outrageous fashion. And was unchallenged in any media platform, because nobody wants to, because all the people on the media are on the same side. And it seems now all the judges are on the same side, and all the politicians are on the same side. And this is what they call democracy, and this is what they call justice. Well, at the end of the day, the people, those who are most vulnerable, that much abused phrase, are the ones who suffer. And in this particular case, the people who suffered were the children not yet born, whose lives were written off by men and women who stand 5 or 6 foot tall in their shoes and call themselves judges. Well, they're not. They're a disgrace.